Andre Knott, the field reporter for Fox Sports Ohio, is waiting on hold, listening to us going, these guys are crazy.
No. I like listening to you. Keep going.
Hey, Andre, you just heard Stan saying he's a little worried. Are there concerns already? I know it's July 6th, but are there concerns looking at what some of the powers in the American League are doing right now? Are there some people who are saying, okay, it's a good position to be in, comfortably leading the Central, but fill in the blank? Are there some people who are whispering about those types of things now around Cleveland?
No, you guys have absolutely the right conversation going. The conundrum of this season has been the AL Central, and I think I want to say this the right way. Management has kind of done things to put this team together certain ways because I think they thought that they were superior to the other teams in AL Central, knowing that they were going to have to fix things and maybe bring in different players over the course of the year to match up with the teams that you guys are talking about. I think for me personally, and I was saying this up until about 3 weeks ago, I think personally it would have helped the Indians if the Twins would have rattled 10 wins off. The Tigers would have been able to hold on for a little while. I think any athlete in any competition, whether it's in radio, whether it's football, baseball, you want to be pushed. You want competition. The Indians' competition is within themselves at this point in time. The starting rotation is pushing each other to be one of the best rotations of all time. So they're kind of competing against themselves. Now to go to what Stanley is talking about, obviously when the playoffs start in October, there are going to be four teams that make it, right? 4 teams that are playing. The Indians are going to be looked at as the underdog of all those teams. And after the last 2 seasons, I think on one hand, that's a good thing because I thought 2 years ago when no one thought very much of the Indians, they were able to slide underneath the scrutiny and they surprised the heck out of everybody and they played to the last game of the season and rightly probably should have won the World Series, but they didn't. I thought last year when they won 22 in a row and they became the darlings of the playoffs going in, I would say they read some of those headlines and they played a little bit different. I thought management put the roster together a little bit different. So I think they're in the midst of, and I think a lot of the players know this, and being around them since spring training. And I think this is a tough thing about where they're at, but I think this is where when you're a good team, you got to figure it out. They know that they're only going to be judged by what happens in October. So I think at times, I'm not going to say they've sleptwalked, but you get pushed differently when you know, hey, we're just got to get in the playoffs. And if we play up to our potential in October and we play in the World Series and we win the World Series, no one cares what you did in April and May. Now, in saying that, it is a lot more fun when you're around a team that's motivated, that's getting pushed by the Yankees or getting pushed by the Red Sox, and even Houston. But that's the conundrum. That's where they're at right now. It's not the perfect situation, but management knows they've got to go out and get more players to match up with what's going on in Boston and New York. And I'll say this about middle relief. It was god-awful in May. It was third best in April. Then Andrew Miller got hurt. Then May was just horrendous. June was much better. July is the time where we're going to find out here in the next 15 to 30 minutes about Andrew Miller, either another bullpen yesterday. I know for a fact that they're looking to trade for a big-time arm for the bullpen. And if they get Andrew Miller back, Stanley, that'll be one less thing that you got to worry about going into the playoffs.
Let me ask you this question, Andre, because you're talking about being pushed and you're talking about being motivated. 3 weeks ago, the Tigers were pushing them. They were giving them some sort of, at least a little bit of a push, a little bit of a reason to go to the ballpark every day and say, we got to hang on to this lead. Since that time, the Tigers have fallen off. But 3 weeks ago, was that the extra push that this team needed to start playing better baseball? Because arguably you could say that's about the time when they started saying, let's put this thing together a little bit, and they played much better baseball since the Tigers gave them a push.
They have. When you look at the schedule when the Tigers were kind of doing that, I believe they played 17 of 19 games versus the AL Central. That plays into the lead that they have and the cushion that they have. But Terry Francona, which is the other wild card in their back pocket, is one of the best. And I've been around, I've played some college football. I covered the NFL. I was with the Browns. I've been around this job for a little while. I've been around a lot of sports. I've been around the Cavs. There's not a better manager coach that I've ever been around in understanding the tempo of his team. And Terry Francona has told his team, stop looking at the standards, stop looking at the scoreboard, and it's time for us to play up to the standard of who we are. And I think that's how he's going to motivate them through the rest of the season. He got kind of mad at a reporter in Kansas City saying, well, you guys are kind of wrapped up the division unless something catastrophic, happens. How do you motivate them? And he goes, we don't get caught up in that. We get caught up in having to win today. So, yes, your question, they knew that was going on. And I think internally they want to be pushed a little bit. But I think Terry has told them at this point in time, It's no longer about just winning the AL Central. It's about living up to the standard of who you are and what you are. And he's been great over the last 3 years in doing this, because you talk about striking when the iron is hot, and I agree with that sentence. And I remember when Mike Napoli came into this organization 2 years ago, and one of his main jobs was to make players believe in themselves. It's a lot. We all can talk ourselves up, but it was nice for a veteran to come in and say, "Hey, man, you're one of the best players. You're one of the best pitchers in baseball. You're one of the best, shortstops in baseball. You're one of the best third basemen in baseball." And they now have that belief that they belong. They're frustrated when you don't put their names up with the best players, but they know they have to keep playing that way. So Francona's been very good at, hey, whether we win this division by 15 games or 4 games, there's a standard that we have to live up to, and I think that's been part of the push, along with where the Tigers and Twins were at one time.
Andre Knott, Fox Sports Ohio field reporter for the Tribe, is our guest. And when talking about Tito, he's got to know the right time to push those right buttons too, right? He doesn't throw that accelerator right to the floor in July, because that would be the wrong time. He's got to do it just right. He's almost got to do a gradual time release type of thing in terms of his motivation.
Yes, no, you're right. I think a lot of fans don't. I don't even get it all the time, but I'm there every day. And there's times where I question moves and people he plays and why he plays them. But the one thing he's really good at, and he's very cognizant of this, because we talk about the NBA constantly. He loves going to basketball. Basketball is his second love. He loves it. He likes going to NBA games, college basketball. He's got floor seats at the University of Arizona for their basketball team. And he always tells me, he goes, "You can yell at me because I used to yell and scream at Lute Olson, and he was a Hall of Fame coach." But what he always does at basketball games, and I marvel at this, is he likes to go an hour and a half, hour before a game. He likes to see how guys warm up, how guys interact with each other, how guys interact with the assistant coaches. Because he's told me that gives him a read on how good or how great a hold the head coach has on the team. And then in force, he does the same thing with his team. He goes out in the dugout an hour before the game, 45 minutes before the game, and talks to everyone, security guards, myself, people that are throwing out the first pitch, his coaches, his players. But he does that to get a gauge on how in tune his players are to that day's action, to whoever they're playing. And I think for him, he notoriously, whether it's been in Boston or here, and even in Philadelphia when his teams were awful, he's always had better records in the second half of the team, or second half of the year with whatever team he's had. And in that case, if that's the case with this team, then this team should be close to the numbers that we're talking about with the Yankees, Astros, and Boston if they get hot again like they have in the last 2 seasons. I'm not saying they're going to win 14 in a row. I'm not saying they're going to win 22 in a row. But with the schedule, it being what it is, with the teams that they're playing, like I just feel like in September and August, when you're playing Chicago and Minnesota after they trade everything away, and Detroit with where they're at, they're going to string a lot of wins together, and it's going to be partly because of the schedule, but it'll be partly because of their leader as well. Really interesting. All right, you talk about trades. We're hearing Manny Machado might be a realistic option for the Tribe. What are you hearing there? Hey, man, I would love Manny Machado to be here. It's his birthday today. Yonder Alonso is his brother-in-law. Manny Machado married Yonder's sister. I would love it. I've sat down with both Yonder and Machado. I just feel like, and you guys know this, you guys have been in the business long enough. You guys, I don't care if it's hockey, if it's college football, whatever. If we keep hearing something that's out there, that means Baltimore wants us to hear it. Here, this is how I'll say it. I'll be politically correct. Do the Indians want Manny Machado on the left side of their infield next to Francisco Lindor? Yes. Can they do it with the way that their salary structure is structured currently today? No. They would have to move Jason Kipnis' money off the boards and move him somewhere else to be able to take on Machado. It may be easier to pay him for half the season. I know that they've talked to Baltimore about their relief pitchers just as much as Machado has come up. I plan on seeing a big move made by the Indians in the next 3 weeks. All right. I'll say that. Will it be Machado? I don't know, because I think Baltimore's still trying to get the farm in the house from everybody, not realizing that no one's going to give up that for a rental. Baltimore has kind of messed themselves up by not trading him probably a year ago or during the winter meetings last year, because only getting him for half a season, and let's say for 250 to 300 at-bats, people aren't going to give you their whole farm system. I think the Indians are hoping that after they go through Philadelphia, they go through a couple other teams that are interested, even the Chicago Cubs. They're hoping that they can have the best minimal package. Does that make sense? They're
It
not going
does.
to give up their farm for Manny Machado for 3 months.
It does, and I'm reading between the lines here. It could be good things for the Tribe if I'm hearing that correctly.
Yeah.
All right, Andre, I know you got a baseball game to get to. Tribe opening up tonight against the A's. You get to that. Thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.